This channel is all about helping you make good financial decisions. And one of the biggest money moves you can make is vehicle related, hence this video. To help me, I had a prior car salesman come in and discuss the car market as well as best car buying practices. Derrick's been on this channel last year where he broke down the 2022 car buying market and provided some tips and tricks for purchasing your next ride. So today begins a 3-part series. In this first video, we're looking at the car market, the massive shift that's happened in the last year, and how the changing car market will affect your next vehicle purchase. Parts 2 and 3 will get straight into the strategies for purchasing a car in 2023. Let's get into it. We did a video last year, it was almost a year ago actually. I think that we did a video where we were talking about the vehicle market because it was so insane at the time. So we've got Derrick back with us, and he used to be a car salesman. And so he kind of keeps up to date with the whole car market.
I do. I try.
Can you give us a short introduction as to how you got into that?
Yeah, so as a pastor, during the downturn in the economy previously, back in 08, 09, decided I had to do something to earn a little bit of cash because the church couldn't pay me. So I figured if I can give away Jesus, I can sell cars. Yeah. And it pretty much worked out really, really well because I love cars and I love people. And people came to buy cars, so it was easy to get them in run. And now I just follow the market as much as I can.
Yeah. So last year when we talked, there was, vehicle prices were going up tremendously. I mean, we were looking at the time, I remember one of the things that you said in the video was, if you have an extra car and you can get by without it, then consider going and selling it right now because you could potentially sell it for the same, if not more, than what you purchased it for originally.
Yes, that was very much the case a year ago.
Yeah.
There were no new cars on the market. If you remember driving around seeing car lots, I mean, there were like 3 new cars and 500 used cars on lots. I remember Honda Marysville at one point last summer. They had 11 new cars and 411 used cars.
Jeez.
So yeah, if you had a car then, it was great to sell it. Now things are a little different.
Yeah.
The used car market's in a little bit of a different spot right now.
Yeah. So give us a snapshot from your understanding as to how that has shifted over the last year.
So there's some technical stuff and some just simple supply and demand stuff. So supply and demand, there were no cars and now there are cars. And so prices they can't move prices as quite as high as they were before. Now the challenge we're in right now, as I see it in the used car market, is a lot of these cars were bought on the high side of the market. Yeah. So if you remember, we talked about that, right? If you have a car to sell, you can get top dollar for your car. Okay, so if you are a car dealer and you buy a car at the top end of the market, you have to raise the price more to sell it to make a profit. Well, what happened was they were doing that and all these prices were going up, and then they started to get new cars in. When new cars come in the market, people stop buying used cars and they start buying new cars, and so you've got all these cars sitting out here that are way overpriced in the market and they can't do anything with them.
Yeah.
That's the shift that took place pretty quickly, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. Especially like last fall there was like a 1 to 3% drop in prices every week.
Yeah,
which was insane.
A monster. It was like a light switch flipped. Once they could free up the inventory of new cars, used cars became significantly less valuable. So.
Yeah. So we were actually looking for a truck last year, at the end of last year, and we were being very patient about it because I wanted to first get a really good feel for what price was a fair price. So we were pretty slow. I was following the market for a while, and then every week it was dropping by like 2%, and I was like, it doesn't take that long to drop 10% in value. So I was watching it pretty closely, following a lot of YouTubers that are very in the mix with the car market. And one of the things that they were talking about is you got all these dealerships that were taking vehicles to auction, and they can set like a floor price so that they aren't just giving up their car for nothing.
Yep.
And 50% of the vehicles were coming back to the dealerships because they weren't getting what they were asking for, even what the floor price was.
Correct.
Which was just insane because, it makes sense if they're purchasing these vehicles for such a high price, and then they can't, they're not even going to make a profit if they sell for anything less than their floor price.
So I will tell you that we kind of hit a bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And we started to bounce a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think the market of cars is starting to stabilize.
Mm-hmm.
We sold a car. My son wanted a truck,
mm-hmm.
and so he was driving a Civic, and he went from a Civic to a truck, which talking gas prices is a whole nother issue. But that's a whole nother story, right? But we sold the Civic. And that's something we should probably talk about too, how you sell a car,
mm-hmm.
The different market uses, Carvana,
mm-hmm.
Car Gurus, CarMax, any of those places. Honestly, simple thing, practical tip right now. Whoever's going to give you the most money when you sell it, use it. That's it right there. And shop them, because that's exactly what we did.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not in a super huge hurry,
mm-hmm.
if you wait, a lot of times those numbers change 2, 3, 4, 5%
mm-hmm.
over a 14 to 21 day window.
Yeah.
Now, you'll get a 7-day pricing or whatever. So we sold the car, and then I got another quote from one of those companies. They just pinged me right back again.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, well, we're sorry your car value dropped. I'm like, well, that's too bad. I already got rid of it, right?
Yeah.
It worked out well for us.
Yeah.
But so the market's actually starting to stabilize a little
mm-hmm.
bit. And you'll have those 1 to 5% fluctuations over a 21-day period, but it won't be those huge things unless a massive inventory disruption happens again.
Yeah. So let's actually jump into the best way to sell a vehicle. So when we were looking at purchasing a truck, we had 2 vehicles, both of which were close to, if not over 200,000 miles.
Okay.
So we were like, well, I don't know, maybe we'll sell one of them and keep the other one. And so I was looking into the best ways to actually sell a vehicle, and some of the places that I was following, a lot of YouTube channels, were suggesting, okay, so you go to Kelley Blue Book, say, and you put in all the information for a cash offer, and then just see what the different companies are going to come back and actually offer, and that was pretty helpful, because then you can take that number, the highest value, and if you do go into a dealership to actually purchase a vehicle and you're looking for a trade-in, or if you're just looking to sell it to a dealership, then you've got the information in your hand, and you can be like, well, I've got right here this dealership down in Columbus is going to give me this much.
So that's actually one of the things that I've done actually recently, and I don't know if we talked about it in the last video. We had a multi-car disruption in our house over a very short window of time.
Yeah.
We had a hybrid, and I knew that we were running near the end of the lifespan on the electric batteries. I'm not going to talk about for or against hybrid or electric battery technology, but there's a huge cost at a certain point in time to replace those. And we were running up against about a $17,000 cost just to replace the batteries on the hybrid side.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the car's worthless. So I knew we were pushing that window, so we went into the dealership. And I had already done the Kelley Blue Book, Edmunds. I've done a lot of that background work, CarMax, all those places. I had my dollars in paper right here in my hand, and I walked in, and my offer from those places was like 11, 12 grand. And then I went into the dealership. They said, we might be able to give you $1,200.
Yeah.
Because see, here's the thing, like a little cheater's tool here. CarMax is no longer allowed to drive your car.
Oh, to actually check it.
Yeah.
To check it out.
That's what I'm hearing now. I haven't heard that directly from them, but we took a car in. They didn't even touch the car. They opened the doors, they lifted the hood, they walked around it. They didn't do anything.
Really?
They didn't pull engine codes, nothing. And so it was...
That seems insane.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And they were the top dollar offer. But I've heard that there was something about an accident that happened. You know, one of them drove a car and they hit something, and then there was this massive lawsuit thing between the two. I don't know how it all happened, but whatever.
Yeah.
But those places are actually really good. Carvana would be another one. You know, the vending machine of cars. There's other ones that are out there as well. Shop your offers. Best way to sell though right now is to really look and see where they are. The benefit of these big corporations like Carvana, CarMax, Vroom, and some of those other ones is they're not just selling your car in this market. So the Civic that we sold, it's probably not going to stay here. They're probably going to ship it out to California. That's why they could give me more than anybody else, because they're going to sell it in a market. They know they need my car out there. They don't need it here.
Yeah,
Honda
because more
is
people.
here.
And more people want to actually purchase an electric vehicle out there.
Correct.
Or a hybrid.
So like they know they can do all this stuff, right? And so all those things happen.
Yeah. Quick interruption. If you're finding value in this, then hit the like button below, because this guy would really appreciate it. Okay, so we were just talking about the actual market, how's like fluctuating. So a year ago, at the time, the market was at a high. It got a little bit higher in, I want to say, like June and July.
Yeah.
And then it started dropping massively in the fall. And then it started coming back up. So while we are talking about that, I'm sure you're familiar with Blackbook data. And so I pulled this up. This is their report from, I think, last Tuesday.
Okay.
That came out. And it's just interesting to see. This is specifically for vehicles that were between 2 to 8 years old. And it's just interesting to see right here. Let's see. This is April. It got a little bit higher in May. Okay, so I guess May was about the peak for used vehicle prices. And then it just dropped.
So yes, it peaked there, but those are a lot of wholesale numbers.
Yeah. Okay.
And so the wholesale market peaked in May. The resale market peaked in June. That's why the June number seems to stick in, the June date seems to stick in your head.
Yeah. Okay. So here's a question. I know that you said it seems like the vehicle market's starting to kind of stabilize somewhat. I pulled up this information from a website that references the Federal Reserve. This is showing the interest rate hikes from April 2022 through, let's see, well, close to now, so about February of 2023. It just keeps jumping, and at the largest jumps here in the fall, late summer, early fall to the winter was the largest jumps, and that's when the prices dropped the most. Like right here is the greatest drop, right around mid-October. I'm guessing that that's probably a pretty good indication of what was kind of going on economically with the vehicle market.
So when interest rates jump, banks are less likely to lend money to certain people. At-risk buyers have a harder time getting loans.
Yeah.
They have to be a little more stingy with their money. And you know, word of warning, those are going to get worse.
Yeah.
Not necessarily interest rates going to get worse, which they will. They're already talking about raising them again. But
probably at a slower rate at this point. But
what's going to get worse is banks are going to be stingier with their money. And so they're not going to lend as much money as freely as they once did.
Yeah.
You know, there's always going to be those lenders that are going to lend the money to pretty much anybody as long as you have a pulse. I don't recommend those necessarily because you're going to pay out the nose in your interest rates. But yeah, the greatest jumps in the interest rates should also coincide with the greatest decreases in wholesale pricing because they know those are good predictors that people are not going to buy as high dollar value cars.
Right. Yep. So in terms of timing for purchasing a vehicle, we're going, today is May 1st, 2023. Yep. We're going into the warmer weather. In terms of if someone has a little bit of time to actually do some research and purchase a vehicle that they want, when is a good time coming up? It gets warm. It gets as the weather gets hotter, so does the car market, doesn't it?
So, yes, it typically does. More people tend to buy cars, especially right after tax season. Is a huge influx of car buying.
Yeah.
People get their tax refund and they're like, sweet, spend it. I don't necessarily recommend that. It is what it is. You can make those decisions on your own or listen to this guy here. But I will tell you, summer tends to be a higher market for certain types of vehicles. Four-wheel drive vehicles typically sell hotter when it's moving into the cold seasons. Your sportier cars, your lower to the ground vehicles, your sedans will typically sell more in the spring, summertime.
Yeah.
Typically speaking. Yeah. So like, when's a good time? It really depends what you're looking for and whether you're looking for new or used.
Yeah.
Typically, there are quarter breaks in the year, and so those are when, if you're looking at a new vehicle, you'll see that they'll run typically some sort of an incentive. Typically, March, April is one incentive run, and then November, December will be the big incentive runs. The year-end sign and drive deals, leasing, and low interest rates are happening then. Follow your truck months. So like if you're looking at getting a truck, try to, even if you're buying a used truck, because used truck values will drop during truck months. So when new truck values drop or are incentivized, they have to lower the used ones
in order to
sell them. Otherwise, they're not going to sell.
Yeah. Okay. So from the perspective of someone who used to be in the vehicle market, does it not seem like every month is truck month?
Yeah, as a truck driver, I do see that more often. You'll stop seeing that more now that we get into the summertime. So summertime, you're going to see less and less of that. Typically, cold weather months are truck months.
Four-wheel drive.
Prepping for farming season. So once farmers are starting to get into their fields to plant or to plow and plant or to harvest, you'll see truck months kind of resurface again. Summertime, you don't see as much of that.
Okay.
Typically.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do have a lot of truck months, I'll be honest.
In part 2, we're going to jump straight into the strategies for purchasing your car this year. When that video comes out, you can watch it right here. And if you'd like to see Derrick's reaction to my very first car deal, then you can watch that next.